Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. You are here for the HoneyBook Basics Introduction to Your New Account webinar. So, this is intended for our new members or folks who just kind of need a refresher to make sure that they are getting the most out of their account, making the most of the HoneyBook tools. So, welcome. So glad to have you all here today. I'm going to go over a couple quick housekeeping items with you while people still kind of file in here. So, first things first, hopefully you all have found the chat there in the right-hand side. That is where you will be able to chat in and get all of your questions answered during today's session. So that is to say that we are not going to be designating any specific time at the end of today's session to answer questions, but rather we'll just be going through and answering them in the chat. So feel free to just drop them in there as they come into your mind. I will say, as you're doing that, we do have an agenda here today, right? So we are here to talk through the basics of getting confident with your account. So a lot of the questions you might ask might already be in the agenda for what we're going to talk through. So sometimes saving your questions for the last 15 minutes is usually the best time to do that. That way, if we've already planned to go through something, odds are we've already covered it and your question might be a little bit more relevant at that time. Also, totally understand it's not easy sometimes to save questions into the last 15 minutes because you don't want to forget what they are. So whatever works for you works for us. Feel free to use that chat however you need it. The other thing here worth mentioning is that this is going to be recorded. We are recording it right now, so this will be sent to your inbox later today. So if kids are being crazy, if you've got to run, you've got to go, whatever happens, you get a call, whatever it might be, this is recorded. So if you miss something, you need to go back and rewatch it. That is no problem at all. We will be sending this out later today, so you should have no problem rewatching it as you get acquainted later on. The next bit here is just introducing myself. So my name is Mac. I am part of the product education team here. I've been with the company for about 5 years, so I know the product like the back of my hand. Really excited to get you guys acquainted with everything this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? I want to talk through what our agenda is today, okay? So the big focus with this session, with this webinar, why you're all here is to figure out, how you should prioritize your time when you're setting up your HoneyBook account. I want you all to leave here today feeling confident with the tools that you have access to and not being overwhelmed by, the plethora of incredible tools you've just invested in, because you're going to hear me say this like a broken record probably all through this session is Rome wasn't built in a day, okay? So we're going to take things baby steps. Where should you be prioritizing your time? Where are kind of the specific areas that you need to focus your energy early on in order to be a successful HoneyBook user, okay? So that's what we're really going to focus on today. How do you prioritize your time? So there's really 3 key areas as you're getting set up with the HoneyBook system where you should focus your time, okay? The first of which is setting up your templates. And I promise you guys too, I know I'm just sharing slides right now, but we are going to get into a full product demo. I just feel like sometimes having words on a screen help to kind of level set everybody here today, like, okay, these are our priorities, right? So the first bit here is setting up your templates. So a little teaser, if you're feeling overwhelmed already, what does setting up your templates mean? Our concierge team is actually going to do this part for you. So when you purchase membership, our concierge team reaches out to you so you can upload all of your existing contracts, invoices, pricing guides, welcome packets, questionnaires, really any files that you have already set up and are using for your business today, and we will set those up in your templates section for you. This is a complimentary service, which means it's included with your membership, and of course, everything we build in is editable and adjustable after the fact, but this is just going to save you a ton of time and legwork in that initial setup. So setting up your templates is priority number 1. I'll go into more details on that, obviously, once we get into the product side. Priority number 2 is getting your client information into HoneyBook. How are you going to do that? What are your different options? Again, we'll get into that in just a couple minutes here once I start showing us the product. The third part here is how do you communicate with and book your clients? Okay, so to level set again, how are we going to prioritize our time in this session today? Well, we're going to prioritize it based off of how you all should be thinking about your time as it pertains to getting set up in the HoneyBook system. So these are our kind of three, you know, core competencies, or like this is our North Star, this is our mission today, is to learn how to do these three things so that you can leave here essentially master these three tools, these three focus areas, so that you can successfully use the program. Okay, so let's hop into the HoneyBook system. So I'm going to pop in here. Hopefully this looks pretty familiar to you all. As you're getting set up with HoneyBook, we are going to give you this nice little checklist to go through. This is kind of your main homepage with HoneyBook. So if we scroll down a little further, we've got all of our project information, calendar, bookkeeping reports, and tasks. This is your main kind of homepage or dashboard with HoneyBook, but to be completely honest with you, you'll probably spend the majority of your time hanging out in this projects tab because this is where all of your clients live. So I won't spend too much time going through this page because you're probably not going to spend too much time here. In terms of how we're going to prioritize things and the three kind of pillars of education that we're going to be covering today, we are going to be spending some time up here in the Tools tab. Okay, so when I hover over this Tools section, this is giving us a glimpse into all of the different things that HoneyBook can do. So this might feel, again, slightly overwhelming for some folks. Maybe you feel like, oh my gosh, did I just bite off more than I could chew? I want to again just reassure you, we are going to take this baby steps, and I'm only going to click on the My Templates section and the contact form today, and I promise you guys that is enough, okay? Of these tools, if you just prioritize setting up those two key areas in the HoneyBook system as a new user, everything else we're just going to kind of put on the back burner, right? Because we want to set up the basics and the core stuff. We want to be experts in those areas, and then we can start to explore different tools that, something like automations. That's going to obviously be a huge impact and benefit to your business. But if you're not using automations today, do you really want to add a whole new learning curve on top of having to learn a new system? Probably not. Okay, so that's why I'm not really going to focus my energy there today, because I'm starting from ground zero with you all, and I'm going to help you kind of build your way up to get confident with what you really should be focusing your energy on. And then from there, maybe 3 months down the road, you can attend one of my automations webinars and we'll go through it all then. Okay, so we're just going to take it one step at a time now. Okay, so for starters, we're going to hang out in the My Templates section. Then we're going to pop over to the contact form. So again, setting up your templates, priority number 1, right? If we're remembering the last slide I was just showing. Priority number 2 is getting your client information into HoneyBook. So we'll go through the contact form and some of your other options for getting client information into HoneyBook. And then the last portion of the webinar is going through how to book your clients and communicate with them. And that will be majority time spent in this projects tab. We'll actually go into a project, look at the different ways you can communicate with clients, and look at how to send bookable documents to them. Okay. One real quick thing here before I move on, I just want to quickly highlight this scheduling tool, because if you are someone who uses a scheduling solution today, so if you're out there in the world, in my audience today, and you use Calendly, you use Acuity, any of those fabulous scheduling solutions, I want you folks to actually add scheduling as your number 4 of areas to prioritize your time. So if you already use a scheduling tool, I want you to also prioritize setting up scheduling in HoneyBook, because this is going to replace the scheduling tools that you're already using. So that means you're getting consolidated more quickly. You're already paying for this HoneyBook tool that has a scheduling functionality. It's not necessary to be continuing to pay for those other services. And if you've already set up a scheduling tool in the past, the learning curve to set up HoneyBook Scheduler is going to be minimal, if not nothing at all. So it'll be a really quick process for you. So my scheduling people, if you're already using a scheduling tool, add scheduling as your fourth kind of item on the to-do list for getting set up with HoneyBook, along with templates, getting leads into HoneyBook, and communicating with clients, learning how to book them. You're going to also add scheduling on that little to-do list for yourselves. My folks who are not using a scheduling tool, again, I'm not going to say that this is something you necessarily need to prioritize, because you'll need to kind of learn how to set it up. Maybe that'll take a little bit more time. There's a little bit of a learning curve there if you've never done it before. And if it's not part of your process today, it's like, why fix what's not broken kind of a thing. So something to focus on maybe, again, 3 months down the road once you're feeling confident with the other tools. But just a quick plug to look into that if that is something that you've been wondering how that's going to happen in HoneyBook. It's right up there. Okay. Moving right along, let's hit the ground running. Let's pop into our My Templates section. So as I was mentioning, I said I'm going to sound like a broken record, y'all, so let me know if I'm getting annoying in the chat here, but I really want to drive these points home. Our first area of prioritizing our time is setting up these templates, okay? And again, our concierge team is going to do this for you. When you purchase membership, we will reach out over email. We'll also have a little pop-up window that comes up and it'll say, upload your materials. We're going to be taking all of your contracts, all of your questionnaires or forms that you might have clients fill out, surveys, things like that. All of your pricing and services for your business. So all of those documents, however you have them set up right now, it's Word doc, PDF, Canva doc, whatever it might be, you'll upload all that information and send it over to our team, and we will build it out. It takes about 2 to 3 business days from the time we receive it, so it's a pretty quick turnaround there. And then you can always come in and edit anything that we do. So you can always click into any of those files and adjust them if you need to. None of that information that they build in is like set in stone. It's more so just as a way to get you up and running as quick as possible, so you don't have to, again, waste the time on that learning curve or figuring out the formatting or how HoneyBook does it or anything like that. We're going to get you set up with the foundational stuff that you need, kind of the building blocks, let's call them, of using the HoneyBook tools. So that is the idea there. Now, if you are someone in my audience today who doesn't have those things set up for your business, you don't have contracts yet, you don't have your pricing established, you've never even thought about using a questionnaire in your business, that is no problem at all. This is not your time to start thinking that you're doing things wrong. Your process is your process. You're all good. You've got time to figure it out, and you can build those things on your own inside of HoneyBook. So there is no stress there. Of course, you can always build it in. You can create new right here. It's a very straightforward process. The account setup is mostly meant for those folks who, already have a process for their business. They already have things built out, and now they need to transition that entire process into HoneyBook. That's kind of a time suck for those folks, so we try to take as much off their plate as possible. But if you're someone who's just starting out, you are also in the right place. We've got you covered, and we are going to help you figure out how to do that today. So let's define what templates even are, okay? What does this mean? How should you be thinking about this for your business? So templates in HoneyBook are really just meant to be your jumping off point for communicating with your clients, okay? So another way of saying that is like the baseline of communication with your clients. Is one template going to be able to represent 100% of situations with your clients? No, of course not. Does HoneyBook allow you the flexibility to account for those situations where a template maybe isn't going to fit the bill and you need to adjust a couple of things? Yes, of course. So that's kind of the way we need to be thinking about it, right? These templates are meant to help you create that baseline or that jumping off point for communicating with your clients, whether that be communicating pricing or services, asking your client for more information, so having them fill out a form or some kind of questionnaire, communicating your scope of work or your terms of service with the client and some kind of contractual or legally binding documentation. All of those options are available here. We're just going to build out the different kind of building blocks of those things so that when it comes time to, given whatever the situation might be, communicate with those clients, you've got those appropriate kind of building blocks already set in place, and you can just kind of pull them together, pick and pull, drag and drop, however you want to think about it, into one powerhouse document that does it all. Your client can interact with it, your team can interact with it, you can interact with it, and everybody's happy at the end of the day because you didn't have to type anything from scratch and everything's happening in a very smart way, okay? Which leads me into why we've decided to call these documents in HoneyBook smart files. Okay, so when you're in HoneyBook, you're not just dealing with files anymore. You're not just dealing with your plain old PDFs or your Canva documents. You're actually dealing with something that's really, really smart. So everything that's done in these files, whether it be the interaction that your client has with them, the way that you interact with them, all of the information that's going to happen here is going to be very cohesive, very dynamic, and very consolidated. So let's take a look at what I mean, just to give you an idea of maybe what can be done here now that you're using HoneyBook as your business management tool. So I'm going to go a little rogue with you guys right now because this is kind of off the path of what we were planning to talk about here in terms of prioritizing your time while you're setting things up, right? So you want to have all your templates set up so that you can communicate your contracting, your pricing, your services, and any forms that you have your clients fill out, maybe some email templates here or there. But I want to quickly just show you inside one of these smart files so that you can start to maybe get your gears turning a little bit for how HoneyBook and the smart files that you now have access to can really help you streamline and customize your process. Okay, because if you're someone who's coming to us today and you're using Google Docs, a combination of PDFs, Google Docs, Canva Docs, whatever, you're not currently using anywhere near the tools that HoneyBook is going to give you the ability to implement into your business when it comes to your client flows and your client interactions. So it's important to kind of know what suite of tools is available to you so that as you're thinking through your process, as you're getting to be a more comfortable HoneyBook user, you know the potential that exists. So again, just to kind of level set with you all, when you're prioritizing your time with HoneyBook, I really want you to focus on just kind of, in some ways, doing the bare minimum. I want you to focus on just getting your existing process as it is today outside of the HoneyBook system built into the HoneyBook set of tools. I also would be remiss if I didn't help you guys start thinking through where maybe you could improve your process a little bit now that you have access to something like HoneyBook that makes things so much quicker and so much easier, so much more interactive for you and your clients, okay? Because we're working smarter, not harder here, right? That's the whole point of this thing. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to kind of branch out, zoom out for a second and show you high level what could be done with a tool like this. So what our smart files are going to do for you is they are going to allow you to combine any given step of your process into one powerhouse smart file. Okay, so this is to say if you're someone who likes to have your clients fill out a form to collect more information from them while you use video and text to kind of set expectations on the same day that you'd like them to be able to indicate what services they're interested in and maybe schedule a call with you, etc. All of that can be done now in one place using HoneyBook's tools, using HoneyBook Smart Files. So this is where I want you guys to start thinking through the big question, essentially, that you can be asking yourself as you start to think through, improving your process with HoneyBook. The big question you can ask is, where are there unnecessary pauses in my process because of the tools that I had in yesterday's world, right? So in a PDF, you're rarely going to be laying out your terms of service, having the client fill out their fields, and signing and selecting services that they're interested in, and that all dynamically then pulls into an invoice, right? But now with HoneyBook Smart Files, you can do that. So this is where you want to maybe start shifting your process a little bit, start thinking through where can you streamline, where can you take out some of those gaps to cut down on the back and forth and make your life a little easier. So when you're building out a smart file, these are all of the features that you're going to have the option to include. The different ways you're displaying content, different actions like contracting, invoice and payment, and service selection bits. So just bear that in mind as you're building things out. It might be that when our concierge team builds out, your pricing and services and your contracts, you actually decide that combining those things into a service selection file and the ability to actually sign on and become a client with you and get those signatures at that point is actually the best move. So you can definitely do that as well. So just to kind of give you a high level, big picture idea of what can be done here, I'm going to show you this master document that basically is doing everything. Again, this is not to say that this is what you have to do with HoneyBook. This is just to give you an idea of if you were going to use a smart file to its full capability and do all the things, this is what it might look like, okay? So we've got our welcome packet. We're kind of introducing our business. We're introducing ourselves. We have a page where we are setting expectations with the clients, letting them know what it's like to work with us, how to stay organized while you guys are working together. Maybe in the next page, we've got frequently asked questions. And then we've also got a place where the client can submit their own specific questions they have, if they have any. We've got client testimonials here. So we're kind of warming them up, right? We're introducing ourselves, setting expectations, getting them familiar with what it's like to work with us, and now giving them the option with the service page to select what package is going to be the best fit for them. Then we've got an invoice page where they can pay for those services. And you'll notice here that the client's service selections will appear on this invoice once they have selected the package or packages or however you want them to interact with that portion of this smart file. They would be able to do that there, and all of that would pull into the invoice here. We've got our payment schedule built out. We've got a page for them to submit payment. And you know what? It doesn't look like there is a contract here. So this is the perfect time to show you guys how we could do that. So we go ahead and add a page. Let me go back. I think that was a little fast. So if you notice there's something missing, you want to add more, you can go ahead and add a page. And this is going to bring up all of your other smart file templates that are available. So this will be where the concierge team will have built out all of your information already, and it'll be really easy to find, a contract that they've built in for you. You click into that flow, and I want to include this contract page. I've already got an invoice and payment page in this flow, so I don't need it. And I also already have a thank you page. So I'm just going to choose this one page to add in. And now I've got my contract, and maybe I want this actually to come right before they pay. So they're going to go and review the invoice. They're going to review the terms of service, fill in any fields that I've left for them, and sign at the bottom, continue on to payment, and then the final thank you page. Okay, so again, just really high level here. This is what you could potentially do with a smart file if you wanted to combine every possible step into one. This obviously isn't going to make sense for every person who's listening here today, but just to kind of give you an idea of all the different things that can be combined into one smart file, this is what we're talking about. Okay, so just keep that as like a little nugget in the back of your head as you're getting things set up. Otherwise, in terms of prioritizing here, we've already talked about how our concierge team is going to do the majority of it for you. If you need to build from scratch, it's very easy to come up here and create new. If you want to create a new contract or use some of the contract templates that we've given you, you can start from scratch here or click into some of the contract templates that we've provided. You can start from scratch in any of these other formats as well, or if you'd rather build out an email template or something like that, you can do that down here. Okay, so that really covers the full suite of our template section. This is where you want to, this is your first stop, really. This is where you're going to initially come to set up your account. And this is really the foundational tool in the HoneyBook system. It's kind of like once you set it up once, you're not really going to have to come back here because this is just, again, like that baseline or jumping off point. You're always going to be able to edit anything here when it comes time to dealing with an actual client. So when you go to pull in this actual smart file with a client, you can always adjust things. You can delete pages, you can delete full paragraphs of text, whatever you need. The idea with templates is just to make sure that you're never typing anything from scratch. Okay, so that's just the kind of thing, again, maybe to keep in the back of your head as you're building these things out. So one mistake that I see happen every now and then is clients, rather members, you guys, as you're getting set up, you'll get a little confused and you'll start building in client-specific details into the master template section. But you'll never want to do that because that's going to be something that you need to change every single time you go to share it with a client that's not that very first client that you built it for. So your templates are meant to be kind of a generic view of how you communicate with your clients, if that makes any sense. And then what needs to be left blank are those client-specific details, and that's where you'll be able to adjust things on a case-by-case basis. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. We can get those answered as we're going through here, but hopefully that is a good kind of place to start for everyone. Another good thing to point out while we're here is just this template gallery. So this is where you can come if you're looking for some inspiration. Again, if you're someone who's just starting out with your business, I highly recommend checking out the template gallery because there are a ton of amazing templates in here that our incredible HoneyBook users and our incredible HoneyBook staff have come up with to help you guys get your feet under you as you start to use smart files with your business. Because again, like we've been saying, tools like this don't really exist out in the world. So in order to take full advantage of the amazing stuff that this program can do, it might be wise to just start in the template section and use what someone else has done as a jumping off point and kind of plug and play with your own unique branding and your own business information. Okay, so if you all liked that template I was just showing you, this is where you can come and find it. It's the services and pricing guide down here in our template gallery. I just tweaked it by adding a couple other pages of information. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so that's really stop number one, setting up your templates. And like I said, the concierge team will do the large majority of it for you. Now we're going to pop over to the contact form. Alrighty, so this is stop number 2 when you are setting up your HoneyBook account. The reason for that is because this is what you're going to embed onto your website or share out with clients by other means in order for them to fill out the details and get their information automatically added to the HoneyBook system. Okay, so this will replace whatever means you're using today to collect information about your inquiries. Okay, so now that we're in the contact form, you can easily just click your mouse in and change any of the text here. We can drag and drop to change the order. We can hover and look for a plus button to add additional questions. My best advice is if you have a contact form already on your website, go ahead and open up that contact form on one tab and have the HoneyBook contact form editor here in another tab, and just go back and forth between the two and make sure that all the questions that you like to ask your clients on your website are reflected here in the HoneyBook contact form, and then you'll basically just go ahead and replace it. One thing worth pointing out here is these little circles that are intertwined, okay? Because we're all about working smarter, not harder, right? That's why we're here. That's why we invested in HoneyBook. So these two little circle icons interconnected are going to let you know that this answer is linked to a smart field in HoneyBook. So the phone number that your client puts into this contact form is not only going to be logged as their contact info in HoneyBook, but it can also pull into places later on, like say the contract, for example. So all of these details are going to be working smarter and harder basically for you so that you don't have to do as much, okay? So a good place to start when you're building out your HoneyBook contact form, when you go to add a question, it's going to default to take you to the custom question area, but I want to recommend that you all pop into this suggested question tab just so you can check out the different smart field options you have. Okay, so these suggested questions are going to be all of the questions that can be connected or linked to a smart field. So you want to make sure that as many of these as pertain to your business, obviously, if it doesn't make sense for your business, don't include it. You don't have to do that. If it makes sense for your business, I want you to include it because, again, that's going to be the real time save here and going to really help you make the most of the HoneyBook tools available. Okay, so it looks like I am actually using the majority of these that are relevant to me. Location is not relevant to me, and project date is not relevant for me, so I'm going to leave those two off, but everything else here is what I needed to include. And if I wanted to add some custom questions, I can go ahead and do that as well. So whether it be multiple choice, single choice, drop down, I've got all these different formatting options here. And then as you saw at the top of my contact form here too, I've decided to include some content, which can be text or images. So in order to get that header image, all I did was click the cover image option here, just to make it look a little snazzier. Okay, so once you've got that form looking good, you can go ahead and embed it onto your website. So how you're going to do that, you're going to come up here and click this Publish button. This will bring up a screen that invites you to copy this code and add it to your website. And if you are eyes glazed over with me right now, I don't blame you. I wouldn't know how to do it either. That is why we have all of these handy dandy embedding instructions right here on how to do this. So it'll pop open a screen with step-by-step instructions on how to get this added to your website depending on the web host that you use. So highly recommend clicking into those options there for embedding. All right, now if this whole time I've been talking, you're like, Mac, I don't have a website. I'm just getting my feet under me, or I'm all word of mouth. I don't really need a website. I've got my, fabulous Instagram account or whatever. I'm just, getting clients from other clients, other industry folks. I don't have a website. No problem at all. I still want you to set this up. You're still going to do all the things that I was just walking you through because there are more than one way to share this contact form out. You don't have to have a website in order to share this, okay? So once you get it all set up, if you do not have a website, even if you do have a website, I want you to pay special attention right now because there is a direct link option, okay? So I'm going to show you what this looks like. Alrighty, so this is our standalone contact form. So you'll notice this is not on a website. This is just a standalone page. You can think about it as a landing page or, whatever makes the most sense to you. The idea here is this URL is going to take whoever clicks the URL to this page here where they can fill out the details and submit this form. Okay, so that is to say that this form, when you copy it, when you copy this link, this URL, you can add it to your Instagram bio. You can add it to your Facebook page. You could text it out to clients. So if you are one of my, big referral word of mouth folks out there, I recommend maybe saving this link as a note on your phone. And then when you get clients texting you or even calling you, you can say, oh my gosh, so excited to work with you. If you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to fill out this form, that way I can get some more information, make sure we're mutually a good fit. However you want to word it, at least you'll have that link on hand and you can text it out to folks or get that out to folks really quickly. And then when they fill it out, all of their information is going to come right into HoneyBook and they'll be added as a project, okay? So moving right along, we talked through prioritizing your time, right? Templates is going to be stop number 1. Stop number 2 is going to be setting up that contact form, either sharing that on your website with your clients or any other means that you acquire leads from. The direct link is pretty much going to solve for everything that's not a web inquiry. We also have some other options here. So we've got a Chrome extension if you are someone who gets your leads through a third-party marketplace like Thumbtack or The Knot or Wedding Wire, any of those. The Chrome extension should be able to help you out a little bit. If you are a Gmail and Chrome user, this Chrome extension can be downloaded to your Chrome browser so that when you're in Gmail, you can easily add projects directly from your Gmail inbox. So that is a good one to check out if that resonates with you. Otherwise, the contact form and direct link is really going to solve for 90%, I would say, of those situations where you're getting new leads from. Now, the final bit here for adding leads into the HoneyBook system or getting client information into the HoneyBook system is going to be manually adding them. Okay, so when you manually add a project to HoneyBook, maybe this person calls you, you happen to be in front of your computer, you don't need to send them the contact form or whatever, you want to manually add them, you can go ahead and do that. So that is going to be the most time-consuming option. It's still only going to take a couple of seconds, but again, you guys already know it. I'm a broken record over here. We are working smarter, not harder. So this is going to be the last thing that I recommend, especially when you've got these automated options for adding leads in through the contact form and direct link. All right. So I'm going to go into that in just a couple seconds, but I want to take a breather for a second and walk us through some HoneyBook vocab. Okay. So as I mentioned at the very beginning of our session, if you came a little later, I'm going to give you a little teaser to what you missed. The Projects tab is really where you're going to be spending the majority of your time in HoneyBook. And why is that? Because this is where all of your clients live. This is where all their information lives. This is where you're going to come to communicate with them. This is how you're going to book them. All of that is going to happen from this tab. So once you get the foundational stuff set up, maybe that means setting up your templates, your scheduler, your contact form, you probably won't spend too much time clicking into this tools section, but rather you're going to be hanging out in this projects tab, working with your clients, right? That's the whole point of the HoneyBook system, is to make your life easier and get you back to doing what it is that you love, the reason that you started your business, working with your clients and doing the things that you love to do. So this is where you're going to get all of that done. This is where all of your client information lives. So we've got to stop for a second and define what we're looking at, what this page means, and how to use it. So the projects tab here, like I've kind of alluded to, this is where all of your clients live. So that is to say that all of your projects are going to represent the different clients that you're working with, okay? So what is a project in HoneyBook? A project in HoneyBook are the jobs that you're working on. So the projects in HoneyBook are the jobs that you're working on, and oftentimes the jobs that you're working on are defined by the client who has hired you to do those different jobs. Okay, so the project name, more often than not, is going to be the client who's hiring you. Okay, so that's how we think about projects in HoneyBook. Now, what we're looking at up here at the top of the page, this is what we call the HoneyBook Pipeline. Okay, so the pipeline is going to show us all of our different projects. We've got 7 here, broken down into their stages. So we've got different stages for different parts of our process in HoneyBook, and all of this is going to be automatically tracked by the HoneyBook system. So there are some different automations here in terms of job tracking. So when your clients fill out the contact form, like we were chatting about a couple minutes ago, their information is going to be added in as a project, and they're going to be dropped off essentially into this inquiry tab here in the HoneyBook system. Now, mind you, your clients are not aware that they've been dropped into HoneyBook, okay? So they're not getting sent any weird HoneyBook messaging or anything like that. This is strictly just to help keep you organized from the very first moment someone inquires, okay? So hopefully that part is a bit of breath of fresh air for you guys. So they're dropped off here into the inquiry tab, and this is where you can start to follow up with them, okay? So all of these folks have not heard from you yet. Once your clients have at least received one message from you, HoneyBook will recognize that you've sent one smart file, one message, whatever it might be, out to the client, and it'll move those folks to the follow-up stage. Okay, so that's to help you recognize when clients have heard from you versus not heard from you yet. Okay, so all the folks in the inquiry tab are waiting to hear from you. Anyone who's in the follow up tab, maybe you've even sent 3 messages to them and they're not going to get back to you or something like that. So that's kind of how you can tell the difference between folks who are waiting to hear and folks who have already heard. And each of these stages can be clicked into, right? So right now I'm in the inquiry tab. If I click into the follow-up, it's going to say that it's empty because I don't have anyone in that stage right now. So there are different automations here that I'm going to go through, okay? So the inquiry tab, the automation there is it's straight from the contact form. The follow-up, the automation there is that you've at least sent one something to the client, and HoneyBook recognizes that, so it's going to move them there automatically. The next automation in the pipeline, so HoneyBook will automatically move clients to the proposal sent stage when you have sent some kind of bookable file to them. So whether that be a smart file that includes a contract or an invoice, or a contract and an invoice, those are elements of smart files that we consider bookable elements. So we are going to automatically update that to a proposal sent stage here. Once they've signed a contract, we'll move them to proposal signed automatically. And same thing for retainer paid. Once they've made an initial payment through the HoneyBook system, we're going to go ahead and move them to that retainer paid stage automatically. So all of these stages are really going to be automatically tracked by the HoneyBook system. So again, nothing really is going to slip through the cracks. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Again, if you guys have any questions throughout the time, go ahead and pop into the chat and let me know what those questions are, and we can get those addressed ASAP. Let's keep chugging along here. Let's move on to our third portion of the session today. How are we communicating with and how are we booking your clients? So we're going to go ahead and go into the manual adding of a lead. So we talked through this option as a way to add client information into the HoneyBook system. Again, don't advise it necessarily because it is the more manual of the options that you have available with HoneyBook. So I'm always going to advise that you take the more automated route with a contact form through the direct link or on your website. But if you do need to manually add a project, you can always do this. So this might be a good example for folks. Maybe you've got someone who's been sitting in your inbox for the last week waiting to hear from you. You wanted to come to this webinar today to hang out with me and learn how the heck to do that. So this is a great option for you because maybe you don't want to have to share, the direct link with them. You've already maybe had them fill out a form, so you're wondering how to move forward. This is what you can do. You can come up here and click New Project. It's going to ask for the name of your project. So let's go ahead and say this is my rebrand project. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is under the logo project type for my business. So this is actually a good moment to just pause. Project types in HoneyBook are completely defined by you. I'm going to wrap up our session today in the company settings, going through some minor things over there that you'll want to adjust as a way of prioritizing your time as well. And the project types are going to be one of those. So if this list doesn't look like your business at all, that is no surprise. All businesses are different, right? So this list is completely customizable, and we will go through how to do that in the company settings in the last 2 minutes or so of today's session because it doesn't take very long. Okay, so go ahead and choose your project type there. You can also say where the client heard from you. So maybe they are a client referral. This list can also be customized in the same place as the project type. So I'll get into that later. Now we've got project date here. Okay, so project date gets a little confusing sometimes for my folks who are not in the event industry. So if you're in the event industry, project date is very straightforward. This is just going to be the day of your event. Makes total sense, right? Now, if you are someone who is a business coach or a web designer or a copywriter or any of those other things that are not event-based, project date doesn't really make too much sense, does it? So let me kind of explain how you can use this instead. So project date is going to be one of the fields that is available for you to view kind of back here in this background when you're looking at the pipeline. So it's going to be one of those bits of information that you can see at a bird's eye view. So how can you use this to your advantage, right? So if you are someone who works on a retainer basis with your clients, or someone who has clients sign up for a 3-month contract, or basically anyone who works with a client for a longer period of time. Okay, the way you're going to want to consider using this project date is almost use it as like the projected end of working with this client. Okay, so if you're a logo designer, you're going to say, okay, I think this logo redesign is going to take me about 3 weeks. So I'm going to put 3 weeks from now as the project date because that's kind of like my self-assigned due date, or that's when I expect that this client and myself our work will be completed, or our time together will be concluding. Okay, so that's how I want you folks who are not in the event industry to think about the project date, because it's going to give you that bird's eye view from the pipeline to see basically what due dates are coming up or what projects are coming to an end so that you can have access to that information. That's one aspect of why I recommend to do it this way. The other aspect is because project date is one of those contingent fields we can add to a payment schedule to help define different smart due dates, basically. So you can say how many days, weeks, months before the project date, after the project date, do you want a certain amount of that invoice to be due. So that's why I recommend thinking about this as the end of working with the client, and that's going to give you kind of the best option when using this for a non-event business. Okay, again, if you're someone who has clients sign on for a 3-month contract, maybe you're going to go 3 months out from today, and that is going to be your project date there. Okay, and you'll notice there's an end date here. The reason I'm not advising you to say today is the start date and 3 months from now is the end date is because that will add this job or this project to your calendar every single day until 3 months from now. So you can imagine once you have 3 clients, 5 clients, 50 clients in here, your calendar is going to start to get junked up really quickly, and we don't want that. Plus, you're not working with this client every single day, so your availability shouldn't be determined by that. Your main thing that you're trying to track here is just, when are you going to be done working with this client, basically, or when are your due dates coming up or things like that. So that's how I would recommend to use the project date there. And let's go ahead and create the project. Now it's going to drop us off inside of the project with a window where we can go ahead and add a participant. So who is the participant here? This is going to be our client. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our client's contact information. Add any private notes you might want to add about them, and then go ahead and click add. When you click add, this is not sending anything to your client, okay? I have a lot of my new members get a little freaked out by that add button. I promise you that this is strictly, again, just you getting organized. This is just you assigning their contact information to the job that you're going to be working on them with. Alrighty, let's take a moment to get familiar with what it looks like, what it is to be inside of the project here, okay? So when you're inside of a project, you've got all your participants up here at the top like we were just talking through. So you've got yourself, the client, maybe you want to add an additional client here who needs to be CC'd on your communication. You could add team members, whatever you need to do. Okay, then you've got activities section, files, payments, and details sections. So right away, we're being dropped off in the details section. This is where all of the information that we just added about this project is going to live, which is to say that if you ever need to come in and adjust it, like we've been saying consistently throughout today's session, right? Everything is editable, customizable, changeable whenever you need. So you can easily come in here and click your cursor and change anything you need to change. Really quickly here, I want to pop over to the Activity tab before we go ahead and send our bookable smart file over to our client, just to get you guys acquainted with where all of your communication with the client is going to live. So this Activity tab is where all of your messages, also known as emails, between you and the client will be saved. So this is where you can come, let's say your client filled out the contact form, a version of that submitted contact form would be down below. You can easily click your cursor in and start to email them. And you guys, this is coming full circle now because we finally get to incorporate some of our templates. So if you set up email templates, this is how easy it is going to be for you to pull in. Maybe you need to answer some questions that they had asked in the contact form to you. You can easily pop in the different bits of information there and make it completely customized for this specific client before you send it out. So again, the idea here is nothing is set in stone. Maybe you've left a couple placeholders for yourself to add in different bits of info pertaining to this specific individual, and now you're ready to send it off. But the idea here is that as much work as we could have done ahead of time is already done, and that's what the template is going to do for you. So it's that baseline or jumping off point for communicating with your clients. Okay, so once you send that off, now going forward, any of the communication back and forth between yourself and the client is going to be recorded here in this activity feed. So that's to say that you can continue to email the client from here inside of HoneyBook, or you can do it from your normal email inbox, and that entire thread is going to save here no matter what, because this first message is an indicator to HoneyBook that you want us to keep track of this conversation for you. So we're going to do that going forward. Okay, now let's say it's time to book this client. You'll come over here and click this Create New button, and this is where you're going to have the option to open up some of your different templates that you've got, okay? So contract in HoneyBook is going to be all of your legal documents. Invoice is how you're going to go ahead and collect payment from them. Proposal is going to combine invoice and contract, so we really recommend using this option when it comes to book your clients, because again, it's going to be that part of your rethinking your process a little bit to make sure that HoneyBook can help you streamline. So more often than not, you're going to be collecting signature and payment on the same day. So why not use the proposal option there? Questionnaires, these are going to be your forms that your clients can fill out. And then services, this is where your clients are going to be able to go in, make selections of what they'd like to receive, and so on. And remember, all of these steps can be combined into multiple different other versions of the Smart File if you need that too, but this is just giving you that jumping off point. So let's hop in and do a proposal for today. So right off the bat, we've got our filters applied for invoice and contract to our template section. Maybe this is the template that I want to go ahead and use today with this client. I've got the contract here, so I can scroll down and make sure that all of this looks good. Got my signature lines here. Continue on to the invoice, and this is where I can start to adjust it based off of what the client is receiving. So I've got my packages here. Again, our concierge team will set this all up for you so that when it comes time to bill your clients, your full list of services and pricing are already built into the packages list. So you can easily pull in your branding kit. Maybe this client is also going to receive 3 months of your support package here, and maybe each month is billed at $300. And maybe that means that this 1-hour discovery call is no longer included in this package, and that adjusts the price a little bit. So right away, we can see how quick and easy it is to adjust this invoice based off of the client's specific needs. And they've received, probably no other client has received this package or this combination of services from you before, but it was so easy to do that because we had our templates already set up and you're never typing anything from scratch. Okay, if I continue on scrolling down here, I've got my payment schedule. So maybe I want to adjust this first payment rather than dividing all the payments equally. This first one, I am just going to do a custom amount of $100 here, and that adjusts the other 2 payments to be divided equally. This first one upon receipt, that makes sense to me. The second one, maybe I want this one to be due on a smart date of 6 weeks before the project date. So this is again where that project date aspect comes into play, which is why I recommend using that project date as kind of your end predicted time of working with the client. And then maybe this final payment I want to be due actually on the project date itself, since I know that is the end of my time working with the client. So I'll add that and adjust that in. And now I am feeling confident. I've got this all adjusted for what the client needed. The invoice was really the only thing I had to adjust there. Everything else looks good. I've even got my little thank you page. So I'm going to go ahead and share this off with the client. That share button is going to pull up this nice email composer here where again I have access to pulling in any of my email templates that I'd like to use. So it's a good idea to build out an email template for yourself that you like to send with all of your booking documents just so you can easily let your clients know what the next steps are. Add that in and then go ahead and send this off to them. And that's just going to drop us off into this little dashboard where we can track the progress of your client's interactions with this file. So we can see the file has been sent, whether it's been viewed, if it's in progress or completed. We can also track how many pages have been viewed, the actions that have been completed, or any questions that have been submitted. And then if we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive, we can scroll down to the full summary view here where we can check out a deeper level of what's going on with the actions or responses to any of the pages or details there. Okay, and as promised, when you send a smart file that has bookable components inside of HoneyBook, we are going to automatically update the stage of that project for you. So we know that we've already sent a bookable file here. HoneyBook has tracked that for us. Once your client goes in to sign or pay, we will update those stages as well. Alrighty, final couple minutes here. I am just going to wrap up in the company settings, so be sure to send in those questions if you have any final ones before we wrap up here. Okay, so you hover over your profile picture, come down to company settings, and this is where you're going to find the preferences tab. And this is where you can adjust all of those lead sources and project types that we were talking about. So project types, again, are just going to represent the different types of clients that you work with. So this is just going to give you a deeper level of customization or insight to the different individuals that you're working with. So this is one of those smart fields that we went into way back at the beginning when we were going through our contact form. One of the smart fields that you can connect there is project types. You can basically ask your clients to identify, maybe what services they're interested in or what type of client are they. And then from there, that'll give you more insight when you're looking at the pipeline, even help with things like automations later on. So I highly recommend setting these up early on as you're getting adjusted to your HoneyBook account. So all of these can be edited. So you can go here and trash can all of these and add in your own complete list of project types. Same thing for lead sources here. You can adjust any of those to fit your needs as well. The last little bit here is just your bank details, okay? So this is where you're going to come in and add your bank details. This is different than your membership tab. This is making sure that HoneyBook knows what bank account you'd like to have connected so that when your clients pay you through the system, we know where to send those funds, okay? So be sure to add that information there. One other quick tip before we send everyone off on their merry way is just coming down to this company brand area. This is where all of your company details live when you first created your account with us. And right below it, we've got our company theme. So this is where you can set a company theme so that there's kind of a default for any time you go to create your smart files that they'll all have consistency. So you can say the fonts that you'd like to use. You can even upload your own fonts. You can have background colors consistently, text colors, and highlight colors, basically adjusting all of this so that your smart files consistently have the same theme going on. So that is another good thing to prioritize setting up in the early days of getting onboarded to the HoneyBook system. The last little quick bit to cover here with you guys is, of course, our mobile app. This is available on Apple and Android devices where you can basically do everything we talked about today on the go from your phone, from creating new projects, replying to new inquiries, sending files, emails, checking your calendar and availability, and really everything you need for your business on the go. Definitely don't miss the chance to download that and get access to those tools. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you all coming here today. Hopefully, this was helpful. Please don't forget to take that poll before you head out today. That just gives us a good idea of if this is beneficial for you all. If you have any other questions, you always have access to our team down here in the question mark icon. You can click into that and message us. We're here 7 days a week to help out with anything there. And then, of course, we already explored the wonders of our amazing help center today. That is another fabulous resource for you all to use if you want kind of more self-service options. There are some great webinars, videos, and written articles there for you to assist yourselves as you get adjusted too. Alrighty, everyone, that was really everything I had planned for us today. I hope this was helpful, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.